Hello and welcome to Lunchtime Politics, where we'll bring you up to speed with the big happenings in politics and in the polity. Let's begin with the headlines. Governor of Osun State, Adeleke, resigns from the People's Democratic Party in a letter dated November the 4th, citing division in the national leadership of the party. Northern governors advised President Bola Tinubu to stop mining activities for 6 months as part of measures to curb escalating insecurity in the north and calls for state police. Thanks again for joining us on the program as we give you an all-access pass to that big happenings in politics and in the polity. But let's get started with issues around security. Following the abduction of worshippers at the Cherubim and Seraphim Church in the Ejigba community in Yagba West local government area of Kogi State, security operatives have rescued a baby from the abductors. The baby's mother, however, remains in captivity. According to one of the victims of the attack who escaped from the kidnappers, some of the victims managed to escape after the military rescue team intervened. The joint search operation, which involved the military, local hunters, and vigilante groups, have since commenced search and rescue efforts across the forest, working to locate the remainder of the captives. And that's some great cheering news as far as the issue of insecurity is concerned that has been escalating in the past week. Let's also tell you that there is a warning from Northern Governors Forum that the region is on the brink of losing its future due to escalating insecurity and deepening poverty unless leaders take urgent and decisive action. The chairman of the forum, the governor of Gombe State, Ino Ayaya, said this during a joint meeting of the forum and the Northern Traditional Rulers Council, where they made far-reaching decisions.
But insecurity in the north has become more complicated. A few voices, driven by narrow political motives, have worked to create the impression that northern governors have grown complacent or inactive. Nothing could be further from the truth. We know the weight of the mandates entrusted to us.
At this critical moment, we express our strong and unflinching support to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. We commend the decisive efforts he is taking to secure our nation, especially in the face of heightened international pressure. While we welcome constructive international cooperation in tackling our security challenges, such help must be offered in a manner that preserves Nigeria's territorial integrity, dignity, and sovereignty.
I want to, on behalf of the Council, thank all the governors and assure you 100%. We are with you, we'll support you, we'll continue to advise you, and whatever it takes to bring peace and stability to the north and to the country, we will do it. We don't think we have any other place to run to except our places.
And those are some of the remarks by the leadership of the region, including traditional rulers, the Sultan there also speaking, as well as the governors from that region. Let's talk some politics now. Osun State Governor Adeleke has resigned his resignation from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, bringing an end to his long political association with the party. The development comes or follows a formal letter dated November the 4th, 2025, and addressed to the chairman of the PDP in Sagba Abongude Ward 2, Ede local government area of the state. The governor said he was withdrawing from the party with immediate effect. He explained that his decision arose from what he described as the ongoing crisis within the national leadership of the PDP. According to him, the situation had made it difficult for him to continue to be a member of the political party. He expressed appreciation to the party for the years of support, noting that the PDP had provided a platform through which he was elected as senator, representing Osun West, and later as governor of the state. And as the core of our conversation today, more defections for the people from the People's Democratic Party. Well, the governor hasn't been clear on where it's headed, but there are speculations as to where its direction is. Until he speaks, we'll hold our peace. But for those who know, they already know. Let's bring in our guest, who is the special advisor to the governor on legal issues, Mr. Nuruddin Karim. He joins us virtually. Mr. Karim, thank you so much for coming on the program. Also, joining us, the Commissioner for Information, Mr. Kola Alimi, joining us virtually. Honorable Commissioner, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Some people will say this is not a surprise. Some will say, well, it's expected. But what informed, because we are seeing, let's begin with what everybody is kind of curious about. From the letter, I think it's dated November the 4th, and this was disclosed, I think, midnight yesterday. What's the reason for holding back for this long? Honorable Commissioner, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Commissioner? All right, so we'll try to reestablish connection with the Commissioner for Information in Osun State, Honorable Kola Alimi. He will be bringing us up to speed as to what's behind the decision. Well, it's been in the works, and people have been talking. All of the body language have been suggesting that this is maybe on its way, you know. But eventually, last night, we saw that official resignation letter from the governor of Osun State, Adeleke, who has now said, well, PDP, thank you for offering me a platform, but I think I'm done here, given what you are unable to resolve in terms of the leadership of the party. Well, the signals were very clear, but now the big question is, where is Adeleke headed as a governor? Speculations all over the place. But let's see and try again whether we can get his Commissioner for Information as to some of the questions I'm trying to put across to him. Honorable Commissioner, can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, fantastic. I was curious as to a letter dated November the 4th, but disclosed on December the 1st/2nd. What's the reason for that?
Yes, as I've stated before the connection, before the network issue, that the leaving of PDP by His Excellency Senator Ademola Jackson Nuruddin Adeleke was not intentional. It was like a force majeure in contract, something that was actually foisted on him, something he could not air. According to the PDP timetable for Osun on primary, the November 4 happened to be the day the National Working Committee of the party in Abuja ought to sit and ratify the report of the screening committee. If we could recollect vividly, you will recollect that the governor has obtained form and he has submitted, and he has actually attended the screening at the committee set up by the party. The report of the screening committee ought to be ratified by the NWC, but the problem started around November 1. After the judgment, the NWC became scattered, suspension and counter-suspension, and so they could not move forward. So it was in the evening of that November 4 when we discovered that the party could not sit, the NWC could not sit to ratify the report of the screening committee, that we decided that the governor, it was high time for the governor to leave. But the governor did not make it public because of the convention that was coming. We didn't want it to be like as if Ademola Adeleke contributed negatively towards the failure of that convention, having been part and parcel of it. So that was why we kept it silent. That is just it.
But the governor, was he at the convention?
Oh, just for everybody to know, the governor was not there. You understand it? The governor was not at the convention. And if you could recollect, the governor happened to be the chairman of a very powerful committee of that convention. But he couldn't go because of this thing. And also, our governor is a peacemaker. He is trying as much as possible to make sure he make peace with both parties, so as for them to see reason. But all his efforts just prove about it. That's why you just have to.
Well, it looks,
well,
yeah, Ms. Alimi, Honorable Alimi, at the end of the day, it looks like he has already made up his mind, because we know how politicians make decisions by body language. Apparently not seen him there, giving his meetings with the president and some other things that people had speculated. I'm sure that you know that the governor's exit from the PDP is not much of a surprise to a lot of people. So not going for the convention was like, okay, I think this is eventually going to happen. It was not a question of if, it was a question of when. But if we move from there, I know that the APC in the state, in fact, as a matter of fact, I think the primaries of the PDP is supposed to hold today or tomorrow. I'm not sure of the date now, for the governorship election, for the governorship primaries, where we understand that Mr. Bisi...
Let me cut you in, sir. Let me cut you in, sir. That if the governor had not had no intention of contesting in the PDP, he wouldn't have gone ahead to obtain the form and then attended the screening. It was because of the latest crisis. So, but as for the primary was actually slated for today. You understand it, for December 2. And so you know that many people around the world, they have been calling the governor that it is high time you move because of that national crisis that persists. And we cannot just blame the governor. Look at what happened in Zamfara. When this kind of issue occur, who signed this form, who signed what form? At the end of the day, the Supreme Court nullified all the elected officers and he gave it to another political party. And so we cannot gamble. That is why the governor, as it is now, based on the yearning of the people of Osun, say, yes, I have to move to another political party. But before then, as a responsible person, he has to formally resign his membership from PDP. And that is exactly what has been done.
You know, I always, Ms. Alimi, I always smile when politicians like you and the governor say, in the interest of the people. I don't believe there's anything in the interest of any people. It's a personal ambition, and there's nothing wrong with having a personal ambition. The Osun people did not gather to say governor defect. Perhaps it's his political cronies and his supporters. But if we move from there, let's talk about where the future lies for the governor, because we know how this built up to this particular point, how we were hearing stories that wanted to head to the APC, but it looks like there's a blockade somewhere. So where is the governor going from here? Is that something you can disclose now?
Thank you very much. Before I answer your question, Abraham Lincoln stated, and I quote, that out of every service politician, there is always a dedicated leader. Adeleke has bond with the people of Osun. He's popular and the people love him. That is why we are saying this one. On where the governor is actually going. Just wait, one step before another, before December 11, 12, the whole world will know, and it will be properly unveiled by the government.
I'll tell you what we're hearing. We're hearing ABGA, we're hearing Accord, we're hearing, what other party is there now? I can't remember the other party. I don't know whether APC is in the mix, but let's talk about governance for a moment. Do you think that, I know that the governor is big on going for a second term, which is the ambition that he has a right to, empowered by the Constitution. But looking at the way it is going, do you think the governor has done enough that despite, in spite of whichever party he chooses to go and, fulfill his ambition to secure a second term, is done enough to win the vote of the people to re-elect him in 2027? Or in 2026, I beg your pardon.
Well, yeah, thank you very much. If I'm saying it, it will be yes, what you expect of him to see. But you can come to us yourself to come and verify. In terms of workers' welfare, Adeleke is called A1. The labor in Osun, they have adopted Adeleke as their sole candidate. The pensioner in Osun, they have adopted Adeleke as their sole candidate. When you are talking of infrastructure, we are top-notch. When you are talking of it, just come to Osun and come and see.
No. I'm not in Osun. I'm not in Oshogbo. So tell me, which are the infrastructure, so that those of people who are familiar. Just a moment, sir. So that the people who are familiar with the space, when they hear you say, they can reach out to us and say, no, that's true or that's a lie. So that's why it's important you mention these things.
Thank you. Let me state this. I started from the workers' welfare. when the issue of minimum wage came, the federal government adopted 70,000. Adeleke adopted 75,500 plus. And the NSC, led by the NSC President Ajaero, and in one of their congresses, stated that Osun happened to be the number 3 in the whole country with the best wage scale. You can fact check that. Then, in terms of the pensioners, the pensions, when the wage award came, we paid before even the minimum wage. When in terms of the issue of pensions, we are so higher than any other government, even in the Southwest. Just go and check it, because we inherited areas of salary which we have almost offset, apart from the regular payment of salary, pensions, and so on and so forth. So you can fact check it from the pensioners and the workers. Then coming back to the issue of education, last year we moved from the position of number 33 in NECO. You can Google it. Osun moved to number 7th. This year we maintain the same position. That is a national examination. Now you can fact check that one, and people are hearing me. They can fact check and go to the NECO's website. At the same time, in terms of infrastructure, when you come to Osogbo, I will only speak about mega infrastructure. You have a fantastic flyover to Kefia, which is almost 100% completed. It's just awaiting commissioning. Then we have one at Lameko, that is for Osogbo, which is at the 80% completion. Then we have one at Ile-Ife, the source, the cradle of Yoruba race. The first flyover in the issue of Ile-Ife since its inception, which is currently being constructed by Adeleke. When you go to Ilesha, from the Palace of Fowa, we are dualizing road to Akure Ilesha Expressway. Is getting to 95% completion. Then in Osogbo also, from Old Garage to Lameko has been dualized and completed, apart from several roads that we have completed internally. When you get to Iwo, we are dualizing the city road of Iwo as I'm talking. When you get to Ila, the hometown of Bababisi Akande, one of the APC chieftain in Nigeria, Adeleke is dualizing road in Iwo as I'm talking now. Now there is a road which was started by Ogbeni Rao Varegbesola. We call that road on Nababa, very major road. That road started from the stadium and it moved. It got to Ilesa Garage. Varegbesola could not complete it. The last administration of Alhaji Oyetola did only half of it. Adeleke has completed it. There's another road which was started by Ogbeni Rao Varegbesola from the Old Garage going to Ilaodo, junction. Adeleke
just a moment.
Move the road now to Idrissa and it's going to Okuku. So when you are talking of infrastructure, we have done a lot. In terms of earth, we have rehabilitated to World Health Organization standard 200 primary health care centers, and it could be verified. Out of 332, one per ward, which we have intention to do. How do I mean? A health center which has the following: the beddings, the equipment, and so on and so forth. Then
all right, Mr. Alimi, I know that if you allow me comment, I know that, for instance, that should be maybe 2023 or 2024. I can't remember now. I know that since this administration came in, one of the things that they've been applauded for is record revenue for state. How it is spent is a different conversation, kettle of fish altogether. But from the records we have, in 2023 or so, the total money that came to the state, maybe around less than 200 billion. So I'm wondering where all this money has come from. But where I'm going to with that question is, we know how the issue around local government administration has been over the court case, the Court of Appeal cases that have, one had favored the APC, is it APP now? And then one favored the APC. But there's been that argument as to who is the recognized leadership at the grassroots level. How is that coming through, and how is that affecting governance in the state? Because these are the things that will play up when this election campaign starts. How you were able to manage the situations like this.
Well, thank you for raising that. We thank God that God has blessed us with the kind of governor that we have now, His Excellency Ademola Jackson Adeleke. The local government imbroglio was deliberately created by the last administration. After losing the election, they went ahead to conduct an election which is not entirely with the Electoral Act, and it resulted into litigation. We are still awaiting the Supreme Court judgment. But the fallout of it was that they moved. They used what we could term as their influence in Abuja to stop the local government allocation. What was the implication of that one for Osun State? According to the rule, according to the governance, the local government is expected to pay the salary of primary school teachers. They're expected to pay the allowance of traditional rulers. They're expected to pay the health workers at the local primary level. They're expected to pay the local government staff. They're expected to pay the pension that retire from the primary school, the pensioners, and the pensioners that retire from local government. Since those money, since February, we have not received local reallocation. And so what now happens? Adeleke now say that we cannot continue to do projects while a huge section of workers are not getting salary. So the state has been running the entire system with the local with the state fund without borrowing. So today we are not owing anybody at the local government. All the pensioners at the local government are being paid. All the staff of the local government are being paid. All the primary school teachers are being paid.
Mr. Alimi, just a moment, sir. Just a moment. So who is occupying the local government council? Because I know that the APC team, they're also claiming, they're funding their own.
Let me tell you one thing. As it is today, the legal occupant of local government happen to be the people from the PDP. But the APC did not allow that one. But what I'm telling you, which I want you to understand, is this. In terms of finance, state that money meant for the payment of primary school teachers since February has not been received by this state, and Adeleke is paying. That alone is working in favor of Adeleke. Everybody knows that this is a governor that is performing. That without this allocation, workers are still getting their salary. We have to give kudos to Adeleke on that. And we know that very, very soon, the Supreme Court will resolve this imbroglio.
All right, so we need to wind down. Are you confident that your governor, your principal, will indeed be re-elected? Factoring federal might, all his battle, he's not been able to, let me use the word carefully, the controversy around local government administration that we just spoke about, issues around federal might, issues around the kind of opposition he's been facing, even to be able to confidently say, I am heading to the APC is not something he could have easily said. I don't know whether that's still a possibility. Does he have a chance at the polls in 2026 by your assessment?
Of course, yes. When you see the fallout of the local government issue, and I told you that despite the fact that the local government allocation attached to it happened to be salaries and allowances of categories of workers, which we did not receive, and workers are receiving it. If you are a primary school teacher, will you vote for a party that wants you to be staffing, or the party that is paying you? You understand it? The pensioners, and so everybody is bonded. They are bonded with Adeleke today because of his performance. As for the federal mind, we have confidence in our people, and we have confidence in the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that he will allow free and fair election. And we know that the people mind is greater than any other mind. The people of Osun have resolved that Adeleke is their governor and is going to be there for second time. There is no amount of shenanigans. There's no amount of manipulations, blackmail, propaganda that can change that. So we are confident, and we are sure that there will be smooth trade for Adeleke for this second time.
Well, I must thank you so much. Well, our eyes and our ears, you gave us 10, 11, 12. Maybe we can extend it to the next 15 days. We will know where it's going. ABGA, Accord, ADC, APC, well, is within the realm of speculation right now. But the man has a prerogative to his decision, and it has to be respected. When that time comes, we'll begin the conversation from where we stopped. But I must thank you, Mr. Kola Alimi, for coming on the program, and wish your government well. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for this opportunity. Best of luck. Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's also tell you that the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Governor Hope Uzodinma of Imo State, has described those sponsoring attacks on schools and religious centers as enemies of Nigeria. Those were his words, stating that the APC are united in the support for President Bola Tinubu in tackling insecurity in the country. Speaking in Abuja at the inauguration of Renewed Hope Ambassadors, Governor Zodima says the federal and state government will not be deterred by the actions of persons who are bent on distracting and discrediting the federal government through sponsored attacks on innocent Nigerians. All right, interesting. We'll continue to watch this space. For us, if there are people sponsoring these attacks that are politicians, we don't just want to hear that they are sponsoring attacks. We want to know who they are. So we're tired of hearing that people are being sponsored, attacks are being sponsored. So governors and the federal government should let us know who the sponsors are. I think that's what Nigerians are more interested in, because we've heard this over and over and over again. I must thank you for your time and your company. This is where we bring you up to speed with politics at midday, right here on Channel TV. It's called Lunchtime Politics, and you've been served. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.